The unexpected meeting. The alien jungle was alive with strange sounds and glowing lights. John, a human traveler from Earth, moved carefully through the thick green vines and giant blue trees. He was here to study new plants and animals for a research mission. The air was warm, but tonight a heavy rainstorm had started. The thunder was loud and lightning lit up the strange shapes around him. John stopped suddenly. He heard something like soft crying, hidden behind a bush. At first, he thought it was just the wind. But then, he heard it again, and this time, it was clearer, a small, frightened voice. Moving closer, John saw a little figure curled up in the shadows. It was a girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old. Her skin was pale blue, with tiny scales that shimmered in the rain. Her eyes were big and bright, shining even in the darkness. She was not human, but her tears looked the same as any child's. John slowly knelt down, careful not to scare her. "Hey," he said gently, "are you hurt?" The girl looked up, fear in her eyes. She tried to move away, but she was limping. John noticed a deep cut on her leg, and her simple dress was torn. She spoke in a strange language, but John could see she was asking for help. John remembered his emergency kit. He took out a small light, some clean water, and a bandage. "It's okay. I want to help," he said softly, showing her the bandage. The girl watched him carefully. She didn't move as John cleaned her wound and wrapped her leg. When he was done, she touched the bandage with surprise, then looked at him with wide eyes, half afraid, half grateful. The rain was getting heavier. John knew it was too dangerous to leave her here alone. "Come with me," he said, making a shelter from his emergency tent. He motioned for her to sit inside, where it was dry and warm. For a long time the girl just stared at him, silent. But finally, she crawled into the tent, sitting in the corner, hugging her knees. John gave her a small packet of food and a bottle of water. She took them slowly, as if she hadn't eaten for days. As the night went on, the jungle outside grew louder. Strange howls and chirps echoed through the trees. John built a small fire near the tent, just enough for warmth. He kept watching the shadows, feeling like someone or something was watching them. The girl shivered and moved closer to the fire. She looked at John with her big eyes, as if trying to decide if she could trust him. Finally, she spoke a word. "One." John didn't understand, but the way she said it made him think it meant, "Thank you." John smiled and nodded. He decided to keep watch while the girl tried to sleep. She was still scared, and every time there was a loud sound, she jumped. Hours passed. John tried to rest, but he couldn't relax. The storm was wild, and the jungle felt more dangerous than ever. At one point, he heard movement outside the tent, heavy footsteps, like someone was searching the area. John grabbed his flashlight and stepped out quietly. In the distance, he saw shapes, tall, dark figures moving between the trees, carrying strange lights. They didn't look friendly. He hurried back inside the tent. The girl was awake, eyes wide with fear. She whispered something in her own language. Pointing to the darkness, John realized the truth. Someone was looking for her. Maybe they were the reason she was hurt and alone in the first place. He knew he couldn't let them find her. He whispered, "Don't worry. I'll protect you." The girl nodded, tears running down her cheeks. She seemed to understand. For the rest of the night, John kept the fire low and listened carefully to every sound outside. The footsteps came closer once, but never found the tent. Finally, the storm ended, and morning light began to break through. The trees. John let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. He had survived the night, and so had the little alien girl. But deep down, he knew this was just the beginning. A mysterious rescue. Morning sunlight crept slowly into the alien jungle, making the blue leaves sparkle with dew. John sat just outside the small tent, still tired from the long night. The little alien girl Lyra slept peacefully, her face looking calm for the first time. John wondered about her story. Who hurt her? Why was she all alone in such a dangerous place? But there was no time for rest. Suddenly, the peaceful air broke with a loud, sharp cry, like a hunting bird screaming in the distance. John tensed. He grabbed his flashlight and checked his small blaster, just in case. Moments later, he saw movement through the thick trees. Strange lights danced between the shadows. John's heart pounded. Were those the same figures he had seen last night? They looked even closer now. He heard strange, robotic voices speaking in a language he didn't know. He turned to Lyra and gently shook her shoulder. She woke up quickly, her eyes full of fear again. "We need to hide," John whispered. He packed up his supplies as fast as he could. Lyra grabbed his hand, squeezing tightly. Together, they moved away from the tent, hiding behind thick plants with giant purple leaves. John wrapped his arm around Lyra, keeping her close. Soon, the searchers reached the empty tent. John watched as 3 tall alien figures stepped out of the shadows. They were armored, with smooth helmets that covered their faces. Each one carried a glowing staff that made a low humming noise. The leader bent down and picked up something from the ground, the small pendant Lyra had dropped the night before. The leader showed the pendant to the others. They spoke quickly, almost arguing. Suddenly, the leader pointed straight toward the place where John and Lyra were hiding. John's breath caught in his throat. Had they been found? Suddenly, a wild animal, a huge, 4-legged creature with horns, charged out of the jungle, running straight at the armored aliens. The searchers turned, shouting. The animal crashed into them, breaking their group apart. John saw his chance. "Run!" he whispered, holding Lyra's hand. John sprinted through the thick trees, dodging hanging vines and sharp rocks. He could hear the chaos behind them, the angry shouts of the aliens, the animals' roar, and the sound of something crashing into metal. They ran until John's lungs burned and his legs felt heavy. Finally, they reached a wide river, its water rushing fast over smooth stones. John looked around for a way to cross. Lyra pointed to a fallen log stretching across the water. "It's our only chance," John said. He helped Lyra onto the log. First, she balanced carefully, using her arms for balance, her small feet gripping the slippery wood. John followed slowly, ready to catch her if she slipped. Halfway across, a branch snapped under his weight, and he almost fell, but he managed to keep his balance. On the other side, they hurried into the thick forest, far away from the river. John dropped to the ground, gasping for air. Lyra was tired too, but she didn't cry. Instead, she pulled something from around her neck, a small silver pendant. She pressed it into John's hand, looking up at him with big, shining eyes. "Safe," she said, trying to use the human words she had learned. John smiled, surprised she could speak a little English. He put the pendant around his own neck to keep it safe. "You're safe now," he promised. They rested under the tall trees, listening for any signs of the searchers. Hours passed. The danger seemed to fade, and the sounds of the jungle returned to normal. John shared his last protein bar with Lyra, and they drank water from a small stream nearby. As evening came, Lyra pointed to the sky, where 2 moons were rising. She drew pictures in the dirt, trying to tell John about her family and her home. John understood some things. She was running from bad people. Her mother was in danger, and her home was far away, hidden somewhere deep in the jungle. John knew he couldn't just leave her. He decided to help her find her family, no matter what danger might come. Just as they started to relax, John heard another sound: footsteps, careful and soft, moving in their direction. He hid Lyra behind him, heart racing. But when the figure stepped out of the shadows, it wasn't another armored alien or a wild animal. It was a tall woman, with the same pale blue skin and glowing eyes as Lyra. She wore a long royal robe and had an aura of quiet power. Lyra's face lit up. "Mother!" she cried, running into the woman's arms. John stared, amazed. He had just met Lyra's mother, and she looked at him with deep gratitude, but also with something else. Something he couldn't quite understand. Return of the girl and her mother. For a few moments, the world felt silent. John watched as the little alien girl, Lyra, hugged her mother tightly. The tall alien woman knelt down and wrapped her arms around her daughter, tears shining in her glowing eyes. The jungle was filled with the soft sound of their reunion, but John stayed alert. Unsure if the searchers would return, the woman stood up slowly. She was much taller than John expected, almost as tall as the biggest tree nearby. Her blue skin shimmered, and a royal robe covered her slim form. Her eyes glowed like twin stars. John realized this was not just Lyra's mother, she was someone very important. The woman spoke softly to Lyra in their alien language. Lyra nodded, then pointed to John and said something. The mother turned to look at John, studying him from head to toe. For a moment, John felt nervous under her gaze, as if she could see all his secrets. Then she pressed a small button on a device at her waist. A soft light covered her face, and suddenly she spoke in clear, slow English. "Human, you helped. My child, you saved a life that is precious to me. My name is Selene." John gave a small smile and nodded, trying to hide his surprise. "I'm John. I just did what anyone would do." Selene stepped closer, her eyes still searching his. "You are brave. Most would not help a stranger, not on this world. Especially not my daughter." Lyra held onto her mother's hand tightly, not letting go. She looked up at John, her eyes full of hope and trust. Selene looked at Lyra, then back at John. "You have done something great. In our people's law, saving a royal life is a powerful act." Before John could reply, a sudden roar echoed through the trees. Selene turned, her face becoming serious. She pressed her hand on her daughter's head and whispered a quick command. Lyra nodded and moved to stand behind John. From the jungle, 2 more aliens appeared. They were guards wearing dark armor and carrying silver spears. Selene spoke quickly in her own language. The guards looked at John with surprise, then bowed deeply. One of them placed a hand on his chest and called him Protector. John was confused. "Protector?" he asked, looking at Selene. Selene nodded. "You are now known as a protector to our people. You will be honored, but you must also be careful. There are enemies who do not want the royal family safe." John's heart beat faster. He had only wanted to help a lost child, not get caught up in alien politics or danger. "Are the people searching for Lyra still near?" he asked. Selene nodded. "They are always watching. That is why we must go quickly. Will you trust me, John?" John looked at Lyra, who squeezed his hand. He took a deep breath and nodded. "I will trust you. But what happens now?" Selene smiled for the first time. "Now you come with us. You will be safe in our city, and tonight you will be honored as a hero." The guards formed a protective circle around John, Selene, and Lyra. Together, they moved swiftly through the jungle, following hidden paths only the royal family knew. The trees seemed to move aside for Selene, and even wild animals kept their distance. As they walked, Selene talked with John, telling him about her people, their traditions, and their city hidden deep in the jungle. John learned that the royal family's enemies wanted power and would do anything to take it. He also learned that by saving Lyra, he had changed his own future forever. After a long walk, they reached a secret entrance covered by vines and blue flowers. Selene pressed her hand against a stone, and a doorway opened silently. Cool, blue light shone from inside. Inside, John was amazed. The city was built under the jungle, filled with glowing towers and floating bridges. Aliens of all kinds moved through the streets, but when they saw Selene and Lyra, they bowed in respect. John realized he had stepped into a new world, a place of mystery and wonder, but also of danger. Selene led him to a beautiful building at the city's center. She looked at him and said, "Tonight, our people will know your name, John. But be careful. The eyes of friends and enemies are on you now." John stood at the balcony, looking over the city. Lyra stood beside him, holding his hand. He wondered if his life would ever be the same. The royal invitation, the city beneath the jungle, was alive with excitement. Everywhere John looked, there were glowing lanterns, alien banners, and crowds of different species gathering in the wide, bright streets. Whispers and curious glances followed him as he walked beside Selene, the alien queen, and Lyra, the little girl whose life he had saved. John felt nervous in his new clothes, strange but elegant, stitched from a shining blue fabric. He walked with the royal family towards a grand palace made of crystal and stone. Inside, high ceilings sparkled with light, and music from unknown instruments filled the air. Selene led John into a huge hall where hundreds of aliens had gathered for a feast. Their eyes followed him as he entered. Lyra stayed close to John, squeezing his hand as if she never wanted to let go. Selene stood tall and proud, her face serious but her eyes soft. A long table was covered with foods John had never seen before, dishes that changed color, steaming bowls of sweet-smelling stew, and tall pitchers filled with glowing drinks. Some of the aliens looked friendly, smiling at John, while others stared with cold, hard eyes. Selene raised her hand. The music stopped, and the crowd grew silent. "Today," Selene spoke, her voice echoing across the hall, "we honor a hero. This human risked his life to save my daughter. By the laws of our people, he is now one of us, a protector." The crowd cheered. Some shouted John's name. But in the back, a group of aliens whispered among themselves, watching with dark, jealous eyes. As John sat at the table, Selene took her place beside him. Lyra was on his other side, laughing and telling everyone how brave John had been. The food was delicious, though some flavors were strange and sharp. Everyone around John asked him questions about Earth, his adventures, and why he chose to help a lost child, but not everyone was happy. One older alien, wearing black robes, stood up and interrupted the celebration. "Is it wise," he said, loudly, "to trust an outsider with our secrets? Can a human truly protect our royal family?" The room went quiet. All eyes turned to John. John took a breath and stood. "I am not perfect," he said honestly, "but I know what it means to care for someone in need. I didn't save Lyra because she was royal. I saved her because she was alone, hurt, and scared. I will do everything I can to protect her and anyone else who needs me." Selene smiled at his words. She stood beside him and placed her hand on his shoulder. "Our laws are clear. The one who saves a royal life must be honored. But I wish for more." The hall filled with gasps and surprised whispers. Selene looked at John, her eyes shining. "I wish for you to become my life partner, John, not only for law, but from my heart. Will you accept?" John was shocked. He looked at Lyra, who beamed with happiness, then at the queen. Around them, some guests clapped, while others looked angry or worried. Before John could answer, the doors burst open. 2 royal guards rushed in, their faces pale. "Your Highness," one called, "the enemies of the crown have entered the city. They search for the human and the princess." The mood in the room changed instantly. Guests jumped up, weapons drawn. Selene moved quickly, pulling John and Lyra close. "We must get to safety," she ordered as chaos filled the hall. John realized this was no simple honor. He was now a target, and Lyra and Selene were in danger too. Selene led them through a secret passage behind the throne, deep into the palace. The walls shook as distant explosions echoed. Lyra clung to John, her eyes full of fear. In the darkness of the hidden corridor, Selene spoke quickly. "This was meant to be a night of peace. But now you see, John, our enemies will stop at nothing. If you wish to stay, you must fight by our side." John nodded. determination growing inside him. "I'll stay. I'll fight for you and Lyra." As they hurried down the tunnel, John wondered if he was ready for the dangers ahead or for the life the Queen wanted to share with him. The Queen's request, the secret tunnels beneath the palace were dark and cold. John could hear the echo of distant fighting above. Lyra gripped his hand tightly, her small fingers trembling. Selene moved ahead, lighting the way with a soft blue glow from her hand. Every step felt heavier than the last. John knew real danger was close. They reached a hidden chamber deep below the city. It was round, with walls made of shining stone and symbols glowing gently in the dim light. Selene turned, her face both proud and worried. John noticed that even though she was a queen, right now she looked more like a mother than a ruler. "Here, we are safe for a short time," Selene said softly, "but our enemies will not stop." John could hear shouts and the sound of weapons clashing far above. He took a deep breath and looked at Selene. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. Selene stepped closer. "You have a choice, John. Our laws demand that you become my partner, my life bond. It is a sacred promise. But this is not just about tradition. If you join me, you will help protect Lyra. Together, we will be stronger. Our people need hope, and you gave them that by saving Lyra. But our enemies will come for you too." John was silent for a moment. He never imagined his life would change so much, so quickly. He looked down at Lyra. She watched him with wide, trusting eyes. "Do you want me to stay?" he asked her gently. Lyra nodded and squeezed his hand. "You saved me. You are my family now," she whispered. John felt his heart grow warm. He looked back at Selene. "If I say yes, what does that mean? What do I become?" Selene took his hands in hers. Her touch was cool, almost electric. "You become a protector by my side, as my equal. You become family to my daughter. You become a symbol for our people, showing that hope can come from anywhere, even from another world." Before John could answer, a loud crash echoed above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. The hidden door shook as someone tried to break through. Selene's face grew hard. "They found us. We have little time." The Queen pulled a silver device from her robe and pressed it into John's hand. "This is a beacon. If you are ever lost, activate it. I will find you. But now we must reach the Hall of Trials. There, our people will see your courage. Only then can you truly become one of us." The heavy door creaked as enemy voices shouted on the other side. John's heart pounded. He nodded quickly, slipping the beacon into his pocket. "Follow me," Selene ordered. They moved quickly through twisting tunnels. Lyra stayed close, trusting John more than ever. The walls were covered in carvings that told stories of old heroes and ancient battles. John wondered if he would become a legend here, or if he would simply disappear in a world so far from home. Finally, they reached a large chamber with a crystal ceiling. Hundreds of aliens were gathered inside, guards, elders, children, all waiting anxiously. As Selene entered, everyone fell silent. Eyes turned to John, some filled with hope, others with fear or doubt. Selene raised her hand for silence. "The time has come," she announced. "Tonight John will face the test of loyalty. If he succeeds, he will be my chosen partner and protector of our people. If he fails, he must leave and never return." A low murmur ran through the crowd. John swallowed, feeling the weight of every eye on him. Lyra ran up and hugged him tightly. "You can do it," she whispered. Selene looked at John with pride and sadness. "This is your last chance to change your mind." John met her gaze and shook his head. "I'm ready. For you, for Lyra, for all of you." As the guards closed the doors and the trial began, John realized this was more than a test. It was a new beginning, a chance to protect not just Lyra and Selene, but a whole world that had become his new home. The test of loyalty. The chamber was quiet, but John could feel the pressure in the air, like a storm waiting to break. At the center, the floor was made of glass, glowing from underneath, with a soft blue light. Hundreds of alien faces watched from the shadows, their eyes curious, some hopeful, some doubting. Selene, the queen, stood tall at the front, her royal robe shining. Lyra squeezed John's hand, her tiny fingers trembling with excitement and worry. A wise elder, tall and thin with silver skin, stepped forward. "The test of loyalty begins," he said in a calm, deep voice. "John, you must prove your heart is true, not just for the queen and Lyra, but for all our people." John nodded. He had never been so scared, yet never felt so alive. The elder lifted a crystal sphere and placed it in John's hands. "This orb will show your memories, your hopes, your fears. It will not judge you by your strength, but by your truth." The crowd fell silent. The glass floor lit up, and suddenly, John's memories floated above for everyone to see. Images of his lonely life on Earth, his family he missed, the moment he first met Lyra in the jungle, the feeling of risking everything to protect her. Some in the crowd began to whisper. They saw the pain in John's past, but also the kindness in his actions. The orb glowed brighter as it showed John caring for Lyra, sharing food, fighting his fear, and making her feel safe. Then, the orb grew dark. A voice boomed from above, mechanical. "Ancient, would you die for them?" It asked. John looked at Selene and Lyra. He saw the hope in their faces, the trust in their eyes. He remembered his own words. Family is not just blood. Sometimes family is a choice. He took a deep breath and spoke aloud so all could hear. "Yes, if it meant keeping them safe, I would give everything." The glass floor shook. Flames of light circled John, testing his heart. Suddenly, shapes formed in the light, figures of enemies, wild beasts, dark memories. They moved closer, pressing in. It felt real, so real that John could smell the smoke and feel the heat. Lyra cried out, but Selene held her back. "He must face this alone," the queen whispered, though her eyes filled with tears. John closed his eyes, blocking out the fear. He remembered Lyra's smile, Selene's gentle voice, the laughter of the alien children who believed in him. He held on to these memories. The monsters and the flames began to fade. The light around John grew calm and clear. The ancient voice returned, softer this time. "You have chosen love over fear, loyalty over doubt. You are worthy." The light faded. The crowd gasped. John fell to his knees, tired but unharmed. Selene rushed to his side, lifting him up. She hugged him tightly. "You have passed the test of loyalty. You are no longer an outsider. You are family." The whole chamber erupted in cheers. Some aliens cried with joy. Lyra ran and jumped into John's arms, laughing, but in the back of the chamber, a shadow moved. The old alien in black robes who had doubted John before watched with cold, angry eyes. He turned and slipped away into the darkness. Selene noticed, her face growing serious again. "You have proved your heart, John, but there are still some who will never accept you. The danger is not over." John nodded, feeling stronger than ever. "Let them come. I will stand with you, no matter what." The elder stepped forward once more. "Tonight, you are one of us. But tomorrow, our enemies will test you in new ways. Be ready, protector." John stood tall, Lyra at his side, Selene's hand in his. For the first time, he truly belonged. A new family, a new beginning. Night had fallen over the hidden alien city. The stars above shined through the glass dome, casting gentle blue light onto the streets. The whole city celebrated John's victory. Music and laughter floated through the air, and everywhere he went, aliens greeted him as protector. But deep in John's heart, he knew danger was not far behind. Inside the royal palace, John sat with Selene and Lyra. For the first time, they felt like a true family. Lyra clung to his arm, telling him stories of her world. Selene smiled gently, her eyes soft with gratitude and something more, a new hope for her people. Suddenly, the palace lights flickered. Shouts came from outside the doors. Guards ran in, fear on their faces. "The traitor is here," one cried. "He's opened the city gates to the enemy." Selene stood quickly, her voice calm but strong. "We will face this together." John felt a new strength inside him. He grabbed Lyra's hand and looked at Selene. "We won't let them take our home." Lyra's eyes shone with courage. "I'm not afraid," she whispered. "Not when I have my family." As the palace doors burst open, the old alien in black robes led a group of armed rebels into the hall. Behind them, fierce creatures from the jungle roared. The crowd panicked, but John stepped forward, blocking the path to Selene and Lyra. The traitor pointed a shaking finger at John. "He is not one of us. He will destroy our way of life." The rebels cheered, but others in the room shouted in protest. John lifted his voice above the noise. "You're wrong. I came from another world, but I gave my heart to this family. I risked everything for Lyra and Selene. If you want to harm them, you'll have to go through me." The traitor laughed cruelly. "So be it, Protector. Let us see if your loyalty is stronger than our hate." The rebels rushed forward. John braced himself, but he was not alone. Selene raised her hand, unleashing a wave of blue energy that knocked the attackers back. Lyra, clutching her pendant, called out to the guards and the people, "Stand with us. We are one family." The crowd found their courage. Ordinary citizens, soldiers, and elders formed a wall between the rebels and the royal family. The enemy, seeing the unity and strength of the people, began to falter. The old traitor tried to escape, but John and Selene moved together. John blocked the exit while Selene confronted the traitor face to face. "This ends now," she said. With a calm but powerful voice, she called the guards to arrest him. In the end, the city was saved not just by John's bravery, but by the courage of a family and the hope they inspired in others. As dawn broke over the city, the people gathered outside the palace. Selene stood beside John, her hand in his. Lyra stood between them, smiling brighter than ever before. Selene turned to John. "You have changed our world. You gave us hope when we had none. Will you stay with us as my partner, as Lyra's father, as protector of our people?" John looked at the family he had found on a world so far from his own. He thought of the dangers he had faced, the friends he had made, and the love that now filled his heart. "Yes," he said simply. "This is my home now. You are my family." The city erupted in celebration. From that day forward, John was not just a visitor, he was a hero, a partner, and a father. Together, with Selene and Lyra, he built a new life, full of hope, adventure, and love.